Hey guys, and welcome back to Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. In this part, we are starting the end of the game. So yeah,
Are we actually going to open the door?
yeah, we're gonna actually open the door. So you know that,
It's been 1,000 years.
uh, yeah, it actually has been 1,000 years.
I
So
It
know.
feels like it since we started this playthrough. Ah, man.
yeah. So anyway, I love this scene. I think it's kind of weird because like up until this point, putting the crystal stars has been like all majestic and shit and shiny and all that. But we also between the beginning of the game and the end of the game, we learned that there's like a demon sealed in here. So at this point, it shifts from being majestic and and cool looking to actually kind of like dark and creepy. So
Foreboding.
yeah, foreboding.
Go,
Yeah,
my star-shaped Jolly Ranches!
But then if you take what we just saw at face value, Mario, before opening this door and unsealing the demon, just did a pirouette for some reason.
He wanted to
A very slow motion pirouette.
he wanted to impress it. I don't know.
You must please the door before the door opens.
He's also totally capable of turning away from the camera, as we just saw, so he did that pirouette for the fuck of it.
Yeah.
Open sesame, says I.
Yeah, he really wanted to keep the spin dash move from the first Paper Mario, but they wouldn't let him do it. So yeah. Okay, so anyway, now we've got the Palace of Shadow, which I think is one of the coolest final areas in any Mario game, period. Because it has a lot of the same kind of tropes that we see in a lot of Mario final areas, but it's also not a Bowser's Castle or anything like that. And personally, I think this place looks way cooler than Count Bleck's castle from Super Paper Mario, but that's more of an opinion thing than a fact thing. So take that with it what you will.
So, well, now we're playing a totally different game. This is Chapter 8, The Thousand-Year Door.
Yeah, we were actually playing Sticker Star the entire time.
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of? Stephen King wrote a 7-book fantasy adventure series called The Dark Tower. And, like, every book has its own title, as you would expect. Like, the first one is The Gunslinger, the second one is The Drawing of the Three. The most fucking confusing thing is that the 7th book is just called The Dark Tower. So, it's literally written on his book list as The Dark Tower 7, The Dark Tower.
Dark Tower.
My God, like.
This time, the tower gets dark. Dark Tower. Coming this
Darker
fall
than
on
black.
CW. Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know, if the final book of The Lord of the Rings was called The Lord of the Rings instead of The Return of the King, or if, I don't know, the 7th Harry Potter book was called Harry Potter and the Harry Potter.
What? So
Harry Potter and the Harry Pot.
The Harry.
What about Harry
No,
Potter
Harry
and the
Potter
pot?
and the Harry Potter.
What about Harry?
The really hairy guy who makes pots.
I feel the story has lost focus sometime after book 5.
Well, after Dobby got out of the picture, people just stopped caring, So yeah. Now the only complaint I have about the final area is that most of the enemies are just recolors of old enemies. We get one new type of enemy, like halfway through, but other than that, it's mostly just palette swaps, which is kind of a shame. But they're all creepy.
That's fairly standard for RPGs, honestly, though.
Yeah, but you expect
Yeah.
something a little bit more, I don't know, like special at the final dungeon and such. So, yeah.
This is a pet peeve of mine in JRPGs in general. It's like the final, well, not just the final area, but the further along the timeline you get, the more modern JRPGs get, the fewer monsters they have in them.
It's what I think it is. It's the shift to 3D. Because as soon as we got to 3D, they had to make models instead of sprites, and I don't know if models are actually harder to make than sprites, but they just been recoloring models.
They're easy to reuse.
Yeah.
You know what, though? Props to Final Fantasy VII for
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah.
Because I'm thinking back to the Northern Crater, all the random encounters you fight there, and I don't think you fight any variation of those monsters ever.
I'm playing through
Earlier
7
in the
for the
game.
first time now, and there have been very few recolors. Like the wolves get recolored, those little snaky things get recolored. You fight different types of Shinra soldiers, but for the most part, whenever I enter a new area, there's at least a few new monsters, and that's always cool.
Final Fantasy 7 and 9, to a certain extent 9, sort of averted that, because they had a lot of unique 3D models for the random encounters. 7 especially, and it's an aspect of 7 that I wish people would talk about more, because it's just something that later RPGs don't do anymore as much. But Final Fantasy 8 in particular is rank with that, because it tries to do this system where the monsters in the game, for the most part, scale up in level with you. So it's not even recolors of monsters that you're fighting, it's the same monster at a higher level.
And to give Thousand Year Door credit where credit's due, at the very least, every enemy you fight here functions somewhat differently than an earlier variant in the game. Like, for example, we're fighting Dry Bones here, where we fought Dull Bones earlier in the game. Dry Bones, in particular, will not die when they run out of HP. If you take too long to finish the battle, they'll come back. And I think the swoopers here will suck HP instead of just attacking you. There's something different with the lava bubbles, but I don't remember at the moment. We'll see soon enough. But they try to vary things up at least a little bit, even if they are still a similar enemy. So
I mean, notice the audience constantly changes too in this place.
yeah, well that's
When we were fighting the swoopers, it was all toads. Fighting against the dry bones, it was all babas.
what the hell are you guys all doing in here? Leave.
Man, you gotta love that Matrix time item usage that Ted pulled off before the coins even landed on the ground.
I'm doing that so that I use because like I'm full on items. I have a maple syrup. I'm gonna use the maple syrup so that I have a space left in my items, and then grab the item that I just threw away again, so that I'm not technically wasting anything.
All in the blink of an eye.
It's like if they ever made an RPG of the Matrix, that is the kind of stuff that you should be pulling off all the time. Slow motion, freeze time, item usage, and menu things.
Didn't they make a Matrix RPG for like the PlayStation 2?
Sort of. I think it was called Path of Neo, or am I thinking of a different game? Something like an action RPG, I think. But
Wasn't there this Path of Neo? Wasn't there something called Enter the Matrix 2 or something like that? Or I'm not sure.
Might be the one. You know, I never actually played the Matrix games, so I couldn't really say for sure.
I think Enter the Matrix was supposed to be the sequel to Reloaded, or at least it takes place the same time as Reloaded.
Reloaded's the
And,
second game, is it?
The second.
Wait.
I mean,
Reloaded's the
second
second
movie. Sorry.
So you're saying they made a Third Age for the series?
I guess.
Do you?
The Lord of the Rings: The Third Age is a turn-based RPG in the style of Final Fantasy X that happens simultaneously with the Lord of the Rings movies and follows the adventures of not Aragorn, not Boromir, not Arwen, who does about 20 times as much as the actual.
Is it kind of like Shadows of the Empire for like Star Wars?
No, Shadows of the Empire happens alongside a book that takes place between movies.
Oh God.
And yeah, actually, the Shadows of the Empire is quite interesting when you look past the fact that the gameplay is crap. But no, Third Age is just fan fiction self-insert copies of the Lord of the Rings cast, following along like 2 steps behind the Fellowship of the Ring on their adventures.
Oh yes, Aragorn.
So are you saying that in this Matrix game, they fight a giant pillar with Agent Smith's eye on it at the end?
You say that as a joke, but you actually do directly fight the Eye of Sauron in the Third Age. It's awesome.
And now, while not completely related, I think Path of Neo had a giant Agent Smith boss battle.
Oh man, that's almost as good as the giant genome soldier.
Yeah.
Oh man. The moral of the story is that 9 times out of 10 movie-based games are pretty terrible. So
Pretty terrible, or the most amazing things ever.
yeah, but not in the way that you think of most times, unless if you're like occasionally a 16-bit or 18-bit game. Sometimes the movie game is not too awful. Although, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's more TV show games like DuckTales that ended up being remembered as good, not necessarily... Well, there's the Disney games, now that I think about it, the Lion King.
No, you know what? Most blanket statements about licensed games, and I'm saying this in the full knowledge that I say such blanket statements all the time. Most blanket statements about licensed games are bullshit, because there's actually a healthy number of licensed games on all fronts that are actually quite good, ranging from just okay to actually quite enjoyable. This hallway looks really annoying.
Yeah, it is.
Uh,
It's really annoying. It becomes less so once you get rid of all the enemies, because then
We
you're...
shall call it the corridor of tangents.
Yeah, but I understand that because I actually got quite a bit of licensed games on my GameCube, and for the most part they functioned and they weren't terrible. It's just most of the time I'd rather be playing something else. That's the
Oh,
God damn
that
it.
looked like bullshit.
Okay, so Mario,
Eh.
why do you have to jump up into the air into this predetermined spot in the room instead of going owie 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 when you jump on this kind of stuff in any
It's
other
because
Mario
it's a
game?
safe spot.
So these are triggered by proximity.
Yeah, so if you
basically.
walk slowly, they will pop out of the ground before you will ever be damaged before you run into them. So basically, you just have to take your time and you'll be okay. Once you get rid of all the enemies in that room, you're basically okay. And I believe I took a break here and cut. So yeah, new.
I would have taken a break here too.
Time for some hot rope jump.
Yeah. Like the original Paper Mario, you jump over these fire bars enough, and they will burst into coins. I don't know if that happens in any of the other 3D Mario games, though, like Mario 64 or anything, or if it's...
Nope.
I'm learning something new here. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you can do this in the original Paper Mario too. They get faster each time you jump over them. So,
It's like playing jump rope in Final Fantasy IX.
but the thing is that all you get for doing this is coins, which is infinitely more useful in the original Paper Mario because you get a lot of coins for the early point in the game where you run into these guys. Whereas you're in the Palace of Shadow right now, you literally do not need coins. There isn't even like a last chance shop like there is in the original Paper Mario. It's just...
It also kind of sends the wrong message to kids. You can get rid of any fire if you just jump over it enough times,
No,
and you get money for doing it.
this is a magic fire, okay? Okay, John, it doesn't work by your by your rules.
Stop, drop, and jump.
Yeah.
That's not how it goes.
I can't drop and jump.
You know, the lesson of stop, drop, and roll made me think I was going to be put on fire a lot more than I actually would be in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because they burn that into your head a lot when you're a kid, and I mean...
Burn that into your head.
You see, I love you guys.
You're taught those lessons so long ago that when you're an adult and are actually set on fire, you don't stop, drop, and roll. You run, scream, and flail.
No, you just run around in a circle over and over and over again, waiting for a plumber to come around with their water backpack.
Somebody jump over me. I'll pay you.
Is it boss time?
Not yet. This is actually, if we did chapter 1 not 4 months ago, this would look an awful lot more familiar. But the only difference this time is that the blue dry bones, I forget what its name is, will actually walk around the path of dry bones here. So you actually have to find it instead of just making your way to the door at the front of the room. So yeah, you have to actively chase after this guy. But now it's boss time. One thing I also like about Thousand Year Door is that Thousand Year Door's final section, I should more accurately say, is that there's a lot of interesting stuff to keep up the pace, because unlike most other chapters, this is basically a chapter-long dungeon, and so that could drag, but they have a bunch of different segments with a bunch of different challenges, mini-bosses to keep the pace going up. So it doesn't ever get boring, and that's part of why this is one of the most fun areas in the game to me.
That's standard Mario RPG tradition, I would say, because Mario RPG does something similar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mario RPG ends the game with a well, actually, I've never gotten to the final dungeon in Mario RPG because I lost to the Axum Rangers. But I did.
But you're doing a lot of different things in the final dungeon.
It's what, the smithy place? I forget the name of it.
The smithy place is the last thing you do, and that's straightforward. But like Bowser's Castle,
Yeah, Bowser.
that's where you're doing
The
all
friggin' mini games.
freaking mini games depending on which ones you run into.
Yeah, the Bowser's Castle in Paper Mario is also, the first Paper Mario is also one of my favorite areas. The only one that I think really falls flat, well, aside from Sticker Star, but that's because Sticker Star sucks, is the Black Castle in Super Paper Mario, because Black Castle tries to make things dramatic by you lose your party members as you go through the area, so you can actually screw yourself over if you use the item that sends you back to the main hub. Sorry about that. because like there are puzzles that you can only solve with Bowser in a certain room. Once you lose Bowser, if you go back to the hub and save, you locked yourself out of being able to beat the game and you have to start all over. So,
Whoa, that's a serious design flaw.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what they should have done is made the warp pipe item non-usable in Black Castle.
What they should have done is made the Wii, not so crap at internet so they could actually patch the games.
Yeah, basically, because Other M had a similar lockout thing, and I think you had to mail the disc to Nintendo in order for them to fix it. I mean, I think later runs of Other M did have that glitch fixed, but I'd have to double check that. Sure.
Ugh. Man.
Well, I mean,
It'll...
if you had saved the game at that point, I think your run was just dead. But if they had patched the game, at the very least, they could have made it so that in another run that you did, you wouldn't be able to run into that problem. So,
Yeah, it's just it always sucks when a really good game has a really bad glitch like that. Ugh.